In today's video I'm going to be making a really small vase to hold a little potted succulent that we bought at the grocery store. So we went up to the school and we're just looking for some simple branches that had a crotch that we could take and make a live edge container here. So you can see we just took the bow saw and ended up bringing back two small Y-shaped crotch branches. So right here, please pay attention. This is what you do not want to do. First, plug it in. That's the first thing. But the second thing, do not cut something if it's not against the fence. See how it just jumped? If I had my thumb in the wrong spot, I could have been in serious trouble here. So make certain that you put your piece against the fence. That's kind of a no-brainer. I think it's saw safety 101, and I completely just didn't pay attention and screwed up. So don't do what I did. So once I got it cut correctly, then I ended up getting rid of some of the excess, and then took my my center finder and just drew a series of lines so that way I could hopefully find what was really close to the center and keep this turning at a pretty much nice smooth turn as it's going on the lathe, but that didn't quite happen. You'll see later. So here I was going to use my worm screw, so all I'm doing is putting some painter's tape on the drill bit so that way when the tape hits the wood I know that I'm at the right depth that I need. So this was poorly done on my part. You can't really tell, like even in the video it looks like I was going somewhat straight up and down perpendicular as I intended, but I did a really bad job of actually making that a straight hole. So once the hole is drilled in there, I took the worm screw, and it was definitely a snug fit, so I had to get the adjustable wrench to get that worm screw down in there. And once you put it on the lathe, you can tell even right here when I was turning it by hand just to see what it would look like, it's by no means centered. So I turn it on just to show you how bad it is. But if you don't have it centered correctly, what will happen is your whole lathe will wobble like that. And thankfully this is a really small piece, so no harm done, but I did have a bigger log where I did not center it like that, and the bigger log completely launched off of the lathe and broke my tool rest, and I was standing out of the way thankfully and didn't get hit, but it caused a good bit of damage and I was kind of mad at myself for not paying attention. So here ended up getting it anchored in much more securely, and you can still see a little bit of rocking, but with the bowl gouge it makes pretty quick work of the excess pieces. So I'd never used this bowl gouge before. It's pretty nice. I took my time because I was worried, I was a little bit intimidated by it since my normal tools that I use are small carbide tipped blades that are more typical for pin turning and small projects, but gave it a shot. So here, since it is a new bowl gouge for me, I ended up doing a lot more footage of me turning, so bear with me. I just enjoyed it, and yeah, a little mishap there. I don't know what happened with my hex screw, but the crank for the tailstock popped off, which is really unpleasant and might need to upgrade. I'm sure my wife wants to hear that as me buying a new lathe. But anyway, took the calipers, measured the base that another succulent was in and put it up there just to see how much I needed to cut back so I could use the vase to have some space for it. So here I didn't give up on the bowl gouge, but put it away for a minute so I could kind of knock away some pieces more comfortably, and then got the parting tool so that way it's a nice smooth line. Cut off this little nub here at the end, and then I could put the calipers back on, and you can see there's going to be a really big gap if I don't cut more. So bear with me, there's more footage of me turning. Again, just going with really quick rough cuts, nothing precise yet, just getting lots of excess wood off of here, that way I can make it about the size I want. So once I got it down to where there's a little nub, got the parting tool again, and then was able to kind of square it up just a touch. So I will say the bowl gouge is much nicer and doesn't catch as much on the interior of the bowl. It's just you can't get too deep in there. At least I can't. So here, once I got it set, knocked out the bit that I had in the tailstock and then put in my Forstner bit. So I went first with a small Forstner bit, about 3/4 or 1 inch. I can't remember which one it was. So once that is on there, move the sled forward. Apparently my nut's not too tight on the sled. It looks like it's backing up now that I see this on footage. It's really not good. So anyway, once I got it hollowed out a little bit, then switched over to the larger 2-inch Forstner bit, and it's definitely getting a little bit dull. You can see the piece kind of stops a few times, and I had to just slowly crank it. So as you're going, if there's any kind of moisture in here, this bit will steam up really quickly and easily on you. So it's a good idea to just, even though there's channels in it, back it out every now and then. That way the chips and sawdust will come flying out for you. So you can see at the end, you'll see the opening on this side, but it's kind of interesting where you can see the tools inside the opening here as it spins in a little more high-speed footage. So at first I was hoping I was going to leave a little bit more bark on the top, and then realized that that just wasn't going to be the case. So using my round carbide tip here, went in to get the base a little bit more hollowed out, and now I'm at the size I want, and you can see that open side, which it actually puts a little character to it. You may or may not like it, but I thought it was kind of cool. So once I had that set, took the bowl gouge again, and couldn't go too deep because the screws that are holding this piece on there, if I go any deeper, I'm going to end up hitting those screws. And coincidentally, I actually just ended up stopping. I forgot all about the screws and just got lucky and didn't go any deeper. But hopefully you guys pay attention and don't end up hitting your screws. So here, just sanded it. It went up to about 300 grit. And after I did that, took some sanding sealer. And again, I didn't take any moss or anything off of the bark, so I'm sealing all that stuff in here for the most part. So I put the sanding sealer on and then let it dry. After it dries, I did come back off camera and sand a little bit more, because sanding sealer will raise the fibers, so you do need to take another pass with some sandpaper if you really want it making that smooth, nice finish. So again, it's a good idea to pat it dry on the bark. If you try to rub, it'll kind of shred your shop towels. Then after that, got it sanded again, as I said, off camera. Then my go-to finish here on bowls and stuff like this is high friction polish. So again, pat it on there. If you rub, it'll end up shredding your shop towels, and you don't want them to stick in the bark, because then you're going to have to pick pieces out of it. So you can see the light shows up a little bit more as it gets a little shinier. So with this high friction polish, what you want to do is just hold it till it gets heated up, and then that makes it start to shine. So once it was the way I liked it, just took it off, went to the table, sanded the bottom smooth, and actually used boiled linseed oil and then a furniture wax on top of the linseed oil after it dried. I did not use the high friction polish here on the bottom. So that is it, and here it is. I like the way it turned out. I know the open side was not quite intentional. Once I realized it was going to happen, rather than throw it away, I actually kind of embraced it and just said, what the heck, let's leave it. So I like it, and then here's we zoom in. It actually looks like it's got a little happy face, a little smile coming back at us.